It was only a couple of days ago that I was bemoaning about no snowfall, no rain, and the fact that we were going through a very dry winter. And then suddenly, without any warning, without any indication, because the day prior it was a very sunny day with not a shred of cloud in the sky, in the morning, our landscape was transformed into this winter wonderland. There was perhaps nobody missing snow as much as Bespa over here. Bespa, our farm dog, loves the snow. She misses the snow and she will spend hours out in the snow when it's snowing. She's covered completely in snow. She will roll in the snow, but she does not feel the cold because she has this winter coat on. She's a Pahari dog. And like I said, she perhaps was a husky in her previous life. It's not really the snow which brings the cold, but it's a clear night like this when the sky is absolutely clear with not a shred of cloud in the sky. That's when our ponds freeze over, our duck pond freezes over, our fish pond freezes over. Behind me, you can see the duck pond is frozen solid, and all these ducks, they're confused. They don't know where the water is gone, where the pond is gone, and they're going to walk over the surface of this ice until a couple of hours when the sun will start melting the ice and they can finally take a plunge back into their pond water. No egg today as well. The ducks have stopped laying the eggs since the past couple of days, and I don't blame them. It's quite a freeze. But that does not stop the ducks from mating with each other. They're mating with each other in the freezing ice water, even these days, except that they are not laying the eggs. As for the Angoras, they are as fluffy as Beswa and low blue are sheep. They have an extra layer of fur. They have the winter coat on. And all that extra wool makes them look much bigger than they actually are. So yes, the wool is going to keep them warm, and the Angora wool is said to be at least 2 to 3 times warmer than sheep's wool. But we are going to keep them indoors, feed them indoors, give them water indoors because the Angoras, though the fur might be, their wool might be very warm, but if their wool gets wet in the snow, then it's a problem because a wet Angora is usually a dead Angora. But low blue eye sheep has no such problems. Rain, sunshine, blizzards, snowfall, what have you, nothing seems to affect low blue at all. Low blue perhaps is the sturdiest farm animal we have, and all that low blue is interested in is feeding himself. And right now, he's heading straight to the kitchen where he hopes to find something. The only resident, the only farm animal who has a problem with the snow is our oldest farm animal, Kobli, our cat. Kobli is almost 7 years old now. She came to us as a little kitten, but she still hasn't gotten used to the winters. She still hasn't gotten used to the snow. Every morning we open Beswa and Kobli together, and while Beswa immediately begins to frolic in the snow, she starts running in it, exploring new patches where there's more snow. Kobli, she looks for places where she can hide herself, like under the staircase over here. She tentatively comes out, maybe for a couple of minutes, couple of seconds, and then rushes back to where she came from. And when she eventually comes out for some time, she makes sure she lets Baseball do all the hard work, paving the way for her in the snow. But very soon she's back and begging to be let in, and as soon as she's inside, she goes straight to the heater. Now, of course, it's a little difficult to show you everything with the snow covering the ground, but I can show you some plants that are propped up. Like we have the residue, the withered up cosmos plant over here. We have already harvested the seeds from these cosmos flowers, which are now withered. It's an annual flower, so next year we'll have to seed them again, germinate them again, and we'll have new cosmos flowers. This behind me is the domestic version of the rose hips. And the rose hips over here, these ones, because they are domestic, they do not produce the rose hips that we get from their wilder cousins, but they produce excellent pink flowers. And this over here behind me, this is the entrance of MeenaBagh Farms. And this domestic rose bush is laden with flowers. I think it's in the month of June when it's completely laden with these pink, beautiful flowers. And of course, it's also the habitat for birds. All kinds of birds come and nest over here, roost over here. And it's a wonderful thing to come into a house, enter the house, and you have birds waiting for you. You have birds chirping, welcoming you as you enter. Over here, outside the window, we have geraniums growing, and look at the amount of snow which is piled up and has buried all the geraniums. And you can see the tables, you can see the amount of snow we had last night. And here we have all our geraniums. You can see this is a geranium plant. Geranium is here, the flower is flowering, and the snow has had no impact whatsoever on the quality and the health of the flower. So geranium obviously is a very cold hardy flower which grows at our altitudes 8,000 feet and above. Snow, ice, nothing seems to affect it. But apart from geranium, there is the calendula. Calendula is another cold hardy, winter hardy flower that flowers throughout the year, including in winters such as these. All along the length of this wall, we have in pots, in these huge black pots, our blueberries. And the blueberries, as you can see, are also dormant. We grow them in pots because they want the soil to be really acidic. So it's easier to control what goes into the pot when you're growing them in pots such as these. What grows easily in the soil are the blackberries and the raspberries. They grow without any help, any amendments. And these are the beds we have over here. These are the raspberry canes. This is the blackberry canes. The blackberry cane over here, as you can see, is dipped in this pot. This is how we propagate our blackberries on our farm. We bury the tip into pots such as these, leave them there. And what is really interesting is these canes, the tips of these canes, once buried, they will start producing the roots right in the tips. They will start producing roots. They will start sprouting roots at the tips. And I will simply come in, snap its ties with the mother plant, and this will become an independent blackberry plant. So all of these are right now resting in the snow. They're all dormant and half buried in the snowfall that we had yesterday. And then over here we have the remnants or the stubs of the kales. And these kales have been harvested and we left the tops because we hope that some of them might still grow a little, maybe towards spring. And we'll have more kale to harvest. So all of this has been harvested because we make a lot of kale powder. We also use them to make kale chips. Kale to eat as a salad is an acquired taste. You really need to have a taste for kale to eat it as a salad. So what we do is we make chips out of it. We also dehydrate them and make kale powder out of it. In fact, as we speak, one of our volunteers, Jack, is dehydrating the kale leaves, and those kale leaves are going to be turned into kale powder, which we're going to use in a lot of our smoothies that we offer at MeenaBagh Farms, as well as in our restaurant Cafe Koblu in Shimla. Kale is super cold hardy. This is brassica that we enjoy growing because it is also not infested as much as the other brassicas like broccoli, cabbages, cauliflowers. Those are infested with a lot of pests, but not the kale. We don't need to spray any organic pesticide on it, and this grows perfectly fine in our conditions over here. And they've all been harvested more or less, and we're keeping the stubs so that they can push out more leaves, hopefully, in the coming few weeks. So while everything else is freezing on the farm, there is only one thing which is still burning, and that is our hot compost pile. These are the two compost piles we made over here. This one over here was made almost about a month ago, and we had a lot of participation from local farmers over here. We conducted a workshop for them where we demonstrated how one can make compost out of these apple prunings, because the practice over here has been that apple prunings are burned. Apple prunings have a lot of pathogens in them, because of which they are burnt, and obviously there's a lot of air pollution, which we all should avoid at all costs. We made this compost pile together almost about a month ago, and we're going to check the temperature of this pile and see what kind of a temperature this has. This has snow on it, snow around it. We have freezing temperatures, but the pile is still burning, as I'm going to show you. There you go. The temperature is rising and it is fast approaching 50°C. So the temperature of these compost piles is above 50 degrees Celsius, which means that the thermophilic bacteria, the heat-loving bacteria, is there in the compost pile, regardless of the snow outside, regardless of the frost, the cold, the freeze. There is still heat in the compost piles. So all of this is, of course, going to decompose the pile. It's going to also destroy all the pathogens that we have in the compost pile. Because remember, we are using a lot of apple prunings as a component, as a nitrogen element in our compost pile, which means that we need to ensure the destruction of all the pathogens in the compost pile when we make it. So I'm just going to wade my way into my dormant farm, the farm which is sleeping, with fruit trees which are sleeping, like this cherry tree over here, and the sea buckthorn over here. Sea buckthorn is not native to this part of the Himalayas. They're native to Spiti in Ladakh. This is doing very well over here, and it produced me a lot of leaves, sea buckthorn leaves, which we're using to make herbal teas. And hopefully this year, this should also produce its very famous sea buckthorn berries. So all of them are dormant. The sea buckthorn is dormant. The cherry tree over here is dormant. Our prune over here, this is the Stanley prune. This is dormant as well. And then its neighbor, the apple, which is the Buckeye Gala variety of apple, which is on a doffing rootstock, the M9 rootstock, is also dormant. Everything that we grow is dormant right now, but something is springing up from beneath the snow, and that is the mustard. These are the mustard plants, and we sow a lot of mustard in winter as a cover crop for winters, because nothing else, like I said, grows in winters except mustard. Garlic is also another crop that we sow for winters. And we also have seeds strewn all over the field. This moisture that the snow has brought is going to perhaps germinate the other mustard seeds that are lying around the farm. Over here under the duck pond, I have this tree called the big red. It's an apricot tree. And if you look at the formation of this tree, this has the classic formation that we give to all stone fruit trees, which is an open center or a wine goblet shape. If you look over here, this has nothing in the center. It has nothing in the center because we want a free circulation of air, and all these branches are radiating in all four directions. They are radiating in different directions, and they are easily accessible to everybody. We have a lot of farm activities on the farm, fruit picking activities on the farm. People book fruit picking tours on the farm, and they should be accessible to everybody, including children. Now, besides the mustard, what is actively growing in winters, which is not dormant, what is not dormant is the garlic. Now, the garlic, it benefits from the snow, it benefits from the cold, and this vernalization, this freezing process is going to ensure that we have a better quality garlic bulb this season. So over here we have got 3 terraces almost, which are covered with garlic, which was sown with garlic, and some of them on the edges you can see where the snow has melted, and rest of them are buried, and soon they're going to prop up and they're going to benefit from all the moisture that this snow has brought. So apart from the aesthetics and some of the obvious benefits of snow to the farmers, one less obvious benefit of snow is that it provides thermal insulation to these trees, and it prevents the roots of these trees from freezing over.